Afrin, where are others? So my screen is visible to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yesterday we were talking about that why we should spend time and resource in order to develop a SRS document. And then we were talking about that what are the characteristics of a good SRS document. So in order to build a SRS document, we first need to understand what are the characteristics of a good SRS document. Now, having studied the characteristics of a good SRS document, we need to know that what are the attributes of a bad SRS document, that what are the things, what are the points. 1 minute. Someone is saying that he is unable to join. You people please share the link in your own friends group, okay, so that people will get to know. Okay, so this like we need to know that what are the attributes of now SRS documents. They are obviously written by it is not possible that each and every time only the experienced candidates, the experienced persons in the software company, they will make the SRS document. Okay, so sometimes SRS documents are written by novice people, so the people who are less experienced in this field. So since they are sometimes written by novice people, so frequently they may suffer from a variety of problems. So the most damaging problems of an SRS document, as we have discussed earlier, is the incompleteness, ambiguity, and contradictions. These three are deadly points to be noted down in case of SRS document. And apart from these things, there are many other types of problems also that a document might suffer from. So by knowing these problems, we can try to avoid them while writing an SRS document, right? So this is the reason why we are studying about these attributes of a bad SRS document, so that by knowing that which documents are not needed to be learned or not needed to be documented, we can build a good thing. So the first attribute is over specification. Okay. So, over specification occurs when the analyst, he tries to address the how to aspects. Now, we have learned that SRS document is a black box specification. That is, how to aspect should not be indicated. What we need to do only that should be indicated. Now, if the analyst, he tries to address the how to aspects in the SRS document, then this over specification problem will come. For example, suppose I have a library automation problem. So one should not specify that whether the library membership records need to be stored in indexed on the member's first name or on the library's member's identification number. Suppose I am an analyst, I do not need to specify in my document that the membership records, they are stored on the basis of the name or on the basis of the ID number. This thing I do not need to specify as an analyst. This is an over specification. So over specification will do what? It will restrict the freedom of the designer in arriving at a good design solution. So if I overdo something, the designers who will design, the developers who will develop, they won't have a good mind, or they will be restricted. So over specification is not needed. I will only say in my document that records of the membership records should be indexed. But how it should be indexed, that I should not specify. That should be left to the designers, to the testers, to the development team, and so on. The analyst should not specify those. Next is forward references. So one should not refer to the aspects that are discussed much later in the SRS document. Because suppose today I am making the document and I have talked with some few people who are saying that if some problem arises in the future, I will be requiring this feature. Those things need not be documented, because forward referencing will seriously reduce the readability of the specifications. So these things do not need to be like what will happen in future. Those aspects need not be documented standing today in the SRS document. If required, those things will be improvised by the next analyst who will do the work, by the next development team who will take the project forward. But standing in this project, you do not need to overthink, or you do not need to speculate so much about the future. Then the third point is wishful thinking. So this type of problem, it will concern the description of aspects which will be difficult to implement. Something, suppose there is one aspect which was desired by a client in our product which I am making, or which we are making for the client, but I am getting to know that if I include or try to include this aspect at this early stage, it will be difficult to implement that in my coding aspect. So I will leave those things. because it may happen, I can understand that it is not that much necessary to include, but in order to make it forcefully include, if I uh, lose like if I find it very difficult to implement this, then why should I include this at the first place? Let it be given for future improvisations. Okay, next is noise. Now, this term noise, it refers to presence of material which is directly, which is not directly, or which is directly not relevant or related to the software development process. For example, suppose I have a register customer function, okay? Suppose I have a register customer function, and suppose the analyst writes that the customer registration department is taken care by clerks who report for work between 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. 7 days a week. Now, is this information needed at all in this register customer function? In this register customer function, I will just take the name of the new customers and I will register them. Then this register customer desk is run by 5 clerks. They come in the office like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week they work. So this information is not needed to be jotted down in the SRS document because this is an irrelevant information. Now, this type of information is called noise. Why? Because this will hardly be of any use to the software developers, and it will unnecessarily it will clutter the SRS document. It will it will, what will I say? It will claustrophobe the SRS document. It will divert the attention from the crucial or the important or the critical points. This point, that when the clerks come, when the clerks go, how much they work, that is not required in my product development. That is given to the company. Company will look after that. Why should I look after that while making the product for them? So this type of information, it is known as noise, and this type of information should always be avoided when making one SRS product document. So like this, several other problems or several other bad attributes can be also be listed, which needs to be guard against, like while writing a bad SRS document. So what happens is, whenever we try to make a SRS document, now we do a checklist. So according to the checklist, we build the SRS document, and also according to the checklist, the SRS document is reviewed also. Okay. So these are the concepts about the attributes of a bad SRS document, or what are the things which we should avoid. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Now the next is that what are the categories of customer requirements? Now, a good SRS document, it will properly categorize and organize the requirements into different sections. According to the IEEE 830, which we were studying yesterday, according to the section, the different categories of people should be organized, should be properly segregated. So as per this IEEE 830 guideline, the important categories of the user requirements are mainly two type of requirements. One is the functional requirements, another is the non-functional requirements. So the SRS document, it will clearly document these two aspects. One is the functional requirements of the customer, and another is the non-functional requirements of the customer. Now, under this non-functional requirements, what goes is the design and the implementation constraints. Then there goes external interfaces which is required. Then there goes several other type of requirements and so on, right? So the requirements is classified into two main aspects, that is the functional requirements and the non-functional requirements. Okay. Now, another thing which is also there, like which always stays in the SRS document, is the goals of implementation. Okay. So now one by one, we will study all the things. First, we will study the functional requirements part. So the functional requirements, they capture the functionalities which is required by the users from the system. So they will capture the okay. So suppose like how do we consider a software? We consider a software like a software is something which will offer a set of functions. Suppose there is a set of functions which I am represented by Fi. So I will build a software. They will offer this set of functions to the customer. This is how we design a software or something like this. So now these functions, it can be considered similar to any mathematical function, because that a function will transform one element in the input domain to a value in the output domain. So suppose I am denoting a function as how? Like this, I to O. What is this? That a function, it will transform an element in the input domain to a value in the output domain, right? So an input domain element is somehow transferred to an output domain element. Now the functional view of this system, this is the functional view of this system, right? So each function, Fi, each function, it can be considered as reading certain data and then performing something, and then performing something on this data I, and then transforming this set of input data into a corresponding set of output data. So we do what? We perform something on this set of input data and we transform it into a set of output data. And who does this work? The functions, he does this works. Yes or no? So the functional requirements of the system should clearly describe each functionality that the system would support, along with the corresponding input and the output data set which is expected. So when I am building one library automation software, and there suppose there is a functionality that register the members. So this functionality will have certain input and it will have certain output. What can be the set of input? that a new customer should have a name, employee ID, age, date of birth proof, and so on, so on. And he will input all these in the function, all this data, and what will be the output? The output will be that the registration has been done for that member, and he will be supplied with a unique registration or member ID, library ID. So your library ID is different from your friends. So each and everyone has a unique library ID. So after the registration is complete, the person will be provided with a unique library ID. Now this is the output which is expected. Now both this thing needs to be in the functional requirements from the system. So the details of the member is going as input, and the unique member ID is generated at output. So some function is there, registration. In this function, this input is going, and from this function, the output is coming. So this input, function, and output together corresponds to a one functionality in my entire software. So like this, several functionalities are defined, right? So all these functionalities we discuss and we write in the functional requirements, which can be identified by the problem description. Okay. So this was all about the functional requirements of SRS document. Now, what are the non-functional requirements? Now, the non-functional requirements, these are non-negotiable obligations that must be supported by the software. The non-functional requirements will capture those requirements of the customer that cannot be expressed as functions. Okay. So suppose I am saying to I am a customer who has given this task to the development team, and I am saying that you make a good software so that I can maintain it properly. It can be very good portable software. I can use it properly so that it can support maximum number of concurrent users. It can give a good throughput. It can give a good time. Now these things, there is no function to define these things. The development team, they will have to apply their brain in order to find out that which algorithm should I apply here to give the maximum possible output to the customer because he is demanding a fast output. Which algorithm or which are the aspects which I modify in my entire development so that the OS does not get hanged, the throughput is increased, or the software can be maintained easily and properly. So these aspects are not functional aspects because these aspects cannot be expressed as any function, but these are the desirable features or the requirements of the customer also. So these type of requirements, they are jotted down in the non-functional requirements so that non-functional requirements the development team can study and they can understand that, okay, apart from these functionalities, these are the other non-functional features also which are demanded by the customer. And whenever I'm making or building the software, I should focus on these aspects also. Okay. So now one thing is there, even if your functional requirements are right, if you're not, suppose your functional requirements are perfect, are to the mark, according to what the customer has demanded. But the non-functional demand, in the non-functional requirements, the customer demanded that I want this software to be very fast. But instead of that, it is seeing that functionalities are running okay, but the software, whenever it is installed in my PC, the software is getting hanged after every 3 2 minutes. So even if the functional or the basic requirements or the programs or the logic are same, but this thing due to which the non-functional requirement is not made, the customer may not accept my product. He can say that this is not acceptable to me, it's a failure, because I also demanded that it should be fast and it is getting hanged after every 2 3 minutes. I won't take this thing, you improvise this thing. So non-functional requirements should also be taken care of, because it will directly lead to the acceptance of this product by the customer or to the failure of this product by in front of the customer. Depending on this requirements fulfillment also, the acceptance or the failure of the product by the customer, it is done. Okay. So the IEEE 830 standard, they recommend several various non-functional requirements. Suppose the external interfaces, the design and implementations constraints. So these things should be documented in different sections. And like when I have written, I wrote these two things, that the design and implementation constraints is one part of non-functional requirements and the external interfaces is another part of non-functional requirements. Now these two things should be documented in two different sections. Okay, and several other remaining non-functional requirements, this should be documented later in a different section. And there I can include the performance, the security requirements, the performance requirements. So what happens is, under the non-functional, three sections are there: section A, section B, and section C. Section A will contain the design and the implementation constraints. Section B will contain the external interfaces, concepts, demands, requirements. And section C will contain other type of things like the performance requirements, then the security requirements. Okay. So these are the three different sections, that three different category of requirements should be written. Even if it's a non-functional requirement, it should be segregated into three different sections, and under each section, each type of requirement should be written. Okay. Now we will study these inner subsections one by one. So the first section was design and implementation constraints. What is the meaning of this, right? So this design and implementation constraints, these are an important category of the non-functional requirement, because it describes that any item or issues that will limit the options which is available to the developers. That means suppose some example I am giving you, that suppose in my corporate company there are some policies that needs to be followed. There are some hardware limitations. Suppose there are interfaces with other applications, specific technology, specific tools, specific database which is to be used, specific communication protocol which is to be used, specific security considerations, design conventions, programming standards to be followed, etc. So these are different example of constraints. So suppose I have some programming standard which needs to be followed. I have some design convention which needs to be followed. I have some security consideration which needs to be followed. I have some specific communication protocol which needs to be followed. I have some specific technology or tool or database which needs to be followed. I have some specific policies which needs to be followed. So all these are restrictions. All these are constraints, right? Suppose example is suppose in this when the library automation software is being built, the client demanded that Oracle DBMS only needs to be used, as this will facilitate easy interfacing with other applications that are already operational in my organization. So suppose the client is saying that whenever you are building this software for me, use Oracle only. Do not use any like MySQL or something like that. Do not use that. You use Oracle only. Why? Because in my company, several other applications are already running. Those can be interfaced with Oracle easily. So do not use this as your database. Now, this is a implementation constraint, restriction. This is a design restriction which they are improvising or they are putting on the like development team or the company, that you can only use this. So this thing also needs to be documented. This is not any functional requirement, this is a non-functional requirement, but this is a vital, a very important requirement, because even if I have made everything to the up to the mark and I forgot to do it in Oracle and I did it in MySQL, then the company will accept it, right? So this is also one very important aspect. So this falls under the category of design and implementation constraints. Constraints means restrictions. Okay. Next is the external interfaces required. So example of external interfaces are what? Hardware, software interface, communication interface, user interface, report format. All these are example of external interfaces. Now to specify the user interfaces, each interface between the software and the user, they must be described. So there should be each interface between the software and the user. This thing must be described. So this description, it can include any screen images, it can include any GUI standard, it can it can include any style guides that are to be followed, any screen layout constraints, any standard buttons and functions. Suppose they are saying that whatever you do, you design it, but in every page there will be a button for help. When I click on this help button, a call will automatically come to me or some message will come to me and so on. So the customer can reach me in each and every page he is facing some problem. So this is one interface which I am expecting from the product. So this is what? This is certain things that will appear like that needs to be documented while designing. So when the development team are designing the pages, then and there he needs to incorporate this feature which the customer has demanded. Suppose one example is, suppose a user interface requirement of a software is there. It should be usable by the factory shop floor workers. Okay. So these factory shop floor workers, they are not even they do not have even a high school degree. They are class 8, class 7 pass people. So the details of the user interface design, such as the screen design, menus design, navigation bar, all these things should be documented in a special format so that they can also understand. So this is a requirement from the client side, but this is not a functional requirement. This is a requirement which will affect or which the development team needs to take in consideration when they are making or they are designing the software. There only they need to include these things. So these are the examples of external interfaces required. That is how externally you want these things to happen so that it may reach the development team, so that accordingly he will change the design of the layout. Sometimes people want error message display things to happen. Sometimes they want some buttons to be included extra. Sometimes they want some shortcuts to be included. So all these things are some external interfaces which are required by the client and which need to be reached to the development team, so that while designing the product, they can understand. Okay. The last category is what I was saying, other type of functional requirements. Sorry, non-functional requirements. Right. So suppose description of non-functional requirements that are neither design or implementation constants or nor they are external interface requirements. So this will fall under this category. For example, suppose the number of transactions that are performed per unit time. Okay. So this is a performance requirement. So this is a requirement, suppose from the client, that I want in every minute 10 transactions to be performed. Now this is a performance requirement which the client is demanding from the product. So this is other type of non-functional requirements also, and several other types are also there, like the accuracy of result, the security issue, the reliability issue. So all other types of non-functional requirements are also there. Okay. Next is the goals of implementation. 3 sections are there in the SRS document: functional requirement, non-functional requirement, and goals of implementation. Now, these goals of implementation part of the SRS document, they offer some general suggestions regarding the software which is to be developed. Okay. So these are not like any binding or restriction on the developers, and they may take this as suggestions into the account if possible. For example, suppose the developers may use these suggestions while choosing among different design solutions. So goals of implementation is not a restriction, unlike the functional and the non-functional requirements, but these are only suggestions that while choosing among different design solutions, you may refer to this section so that you may get a better idea. Okay. So in contrast to the functional and the non-functional requirements, these goals of implementation section, it is not checked by the customer for conformance. So for checking or for validating time at the time of acceptance testing, this section is not checked by the customers. Remember it. It is just suggestions for the development team. It is not to be checked by the customer. Right. So the goals of implementation section, it might document issues such as easier revisions to the system functionalities that may be required in the future. So support for new devices to be supported in the future, reusability issues. So these things are written generally in the goals of the implementation. So these are the items which the developers might keep in their mind during the development, so that the developed system may meet some aspects that are not required immediately. So it is useful to remember that anything that would be tested by the user and the acceptance of the system would directly depend on the outcome of the task, right? So it is usually considered as a requirement to be fulfilled by the system and not a goal, right? So in contrast to the functional and non-functional requirements, which are to be at any cost fulfilled by the system mandatorily, these goals of implementation is a desirable feature for the development team, which the development team might refer to while 1 minute, which the development team while referred to like in order to create a better product for the future, but it is not a mandatory thing that they will have to include the suggestions which are included. Okay. So I hope you have understood what I was trying to say and all. So this was all about today's lecture. Now I will share my attendance screen with you. And I see there are only 9 people in my list. So I have taken the screenshot. Make sure that these 9 people only give the attendance and other people should not give the attendance. So do not share the code with your friends, okay? Okay. So the people, now you can give your attendance. So this was all about today's class. The functional requirements and the non-functional requirements of the SRS document and the attributes of a bad SRS document. In the next class, we will slowly go into depth about in-depth about what are functional requirements, what are non-functional requirements and all that.